So for the next 15 minutes or so, I'm going to be going through some tips on how to prepare for residency interviews. So this is a 2018 NRMP Program Director Survey, but I just looked yesterday, and the 2020 numbers are basically identical to these. So basically, the program directors gave an importance rating for each of these factors in terms of how they rank applicants, with 1 being not important at all and 5 being very important. So you can see interactions with faculty during interview and visit, interpersonal skills, and interaction with the house staff during interview and visit are really the top 3 highly rated in terms of what program directors consider when doing their final ranking of applicants. So before your interview, it's really important to research your program of interest in advance. Make sure you do a complete website search and really look at what makes you interested in this particular program. You might also want to speak with peers who graduated from the program. As mentioned earlier in the presentation, you want to read over your CV and personal statement very carefully because really anything on either of those items are fair game in terms of what kinds of questions they may ask you during the interview. So you want to thoroughly review your CV and personal statement prior to the interview. It's really important, this is probably the most important point, to practice going through the interview with a colleague or a friend or family member. Make sure you have good eye contact, that you're smiling, displaying confidence and enthusiasm. So it's really important to practice going through the questions multiple times before the interview. If there is a pre-dinner with the residents, try to make it to that, but make sure you're well rested the night before the interview. It's really important to be on time, so make sure you account for traffic. Make sure you know the location of your interview. Make sure that you look presentable, so you're wearing a well-fitted, pressed, clean suit, but also make sure that you're comfortable because it is a long day. So you want to make sure that your shoes, the clothing that you're wearing, that you feel comfortable. Keep a conservative appearance, so avoid flashy outfits, flashy ties. Please avoid heavy perfume or cologne or heavy makeup. It's helpful to bring a pen, notepad, portfolio, maybe in case you're given papers, you can put them in your portfolio. And it's really important to be careful how you act around residents. Please remember that the residents at the program are going to be part of your overall evaluation. So it's really important that you act how you act around the residents. Interview days can be long, so make sure you maintain the same level of enthusiasm, throughout the day. And then, I found this term on one of the websites, just, in terms of displaying what they would call self-confident humility. So, and this was mentioned earlier, so you don't want to portray yourself. I mean, you want to portray yourself as confident, and as, but not to the point where you're becoming arrogant. So you do want to be confident, but maintain a degree of humility as well. And make sure that you also get the names and addresses, even the email addresses of your interviewers. So common interview questions, tell me about yourself. So you really want to think about those specific experiences and skill sets which define you as a person, which will help the interviewer understand, what you personally can bring to their program. Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? Why are you interested in our program? So this is where your initial website search of the program, is important, because you can talk about specific exactly, what interests you about that particular program, what makes you a good candidate for our program. So here again, you want to give specific examples to back up your strengths. So for example, you don't want to say, I wouldn't just say, you're dedicated to service or you have, teaching experience. I would give specific examples to illustrate that. They may ask you about an interesting case or research project that you were part of in medical school. And they may also ask you about a particular, weakness or low point in your medical school career, a struggle that you went through. So it's important to explain, what you learned about from that experience, how, what you gained from it, how you became a better person as a result of it. Questions to ask your interviewer. Some of these are just some examples. So you can ask them about what teaching, research, or community service opportunities are available to residents in their program. Is there special mentoring available to residents from senior or junior faculty members? How are residents evaluated? How often they're evaluated? And how much autonomy do they have in managing patients as part of the residency program? And also, fair question would be certainly is there any formal preparation for the boards, any type of board review course that's offered as part of the residency program. Please do not ask your interviewer any questions related to the call schedule, vacation, lifestyle. These are questions that you could direct towards the residents, but not towards the interviewer. Also, I would be careful about asking the interviewer obvious questions, especially those that have been discussed, maybe during an earlier presentation and the interview day, or things that can very obviously be found on the website. So I would avoid that. The flip side, the interviewer should not be asking you questions pertaining to your marital status, family plans, and they shouldn't be asking you, questions related to other programs that you are applying to. And again, I alluded to this before, please don't come across as arrogant. Somebody mentioned earlier that, it shouldn't be that, I did this. So but you can still, talk about your achievements in a confident manner, but please don't display arrogance, disinterest, or negativity. So with negativity, you don't want to be negative about yourself or others. So you don't want to be negative about, other programs that, or other sites that you visited. So I would just maintain a positive attitude throughout and avoid any type of disinterest or negativity. An extrovert versus introvert. So what I mean by this is you really want to maintain communication with your interviewer in an appropriate manner. So you don't want to be overly talkative and monopolize the conversation. You want to give the interviewer a chance to ask questions. And it's a discussion that you should be having back and forth. So it's not that you should, again, be an extrovert or overly talkative. You also should avoid being an introvert. So, that will, being quiet, where there's awkward silences throughout the interview. So you really want to maintain the conversation. So you want to avoid really both extremes, extrovert and introvert. And then after the interview, you would make it's helpful to make like a pros and cons list for the program as you formulate a rank list. And you also want to make sure that you write thank you notes, either handwritten notes or emails, send an email to your interviewers. And, you want to really avoid making this generic. You want to really personalize the message by building on the conversation you had during the interview. So you really do not want to just send a generic message to everyone.